Good evening, you're watching My Media Prime Television. This is a 6:30 p.m. edition of News live from our studios here in Douala, Cameroon's economic capital, with me, Fon Quinter. I begin with this sad story where the remains of a man identified as Severin Dobo have been deposited in the mortuary in Obala Central region of Cameroon after an attacker stabbed him while returning from a wedding. According to the deceased daughter, her father was being targeted by someone she termed a mystery man as they drove home from the event. The man reportedly stabbed Ndobo Severin after he tried protecting his wife. Investigations have been opened to find out why Ndobo Severin was killed. Meanwhile, his killer is currently under police custody. And to something else, Professor Maurice Campbell of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement political party has once more been placed on the house arrest by state authorities. This order comes shortly after the end of his two-day visit to Douala, Cameroon's economic capital. Nolinga completes the story.
Where is it? Where is it?
Since Tuesday, circulation has somewhat been perturbed in the nation's economic capital, Douala, following the presence of the strong political man, Professor Maurice Campbell, president of the Cameroon's Renaissance Movement, CRM. For the first time officially being seen in public after his release from house arrest, Campbell begins his debut tour in Douala, where he visited the 57 militants of his party still in detention at the Douala Nouvelle Central Prison. After which, a mammoth crowd, including sympathizers, militants, supporters and allies, converged in a part of the city to be addressed by their president thus.
To cut short a very long story, our motto is peaceful change through the ballot box. Peaceful change through the ballot box. This is our choice. This is our ideology. Basically, we stand by that. We have not changed. But we don't want fight, but we do not fear fight. We do not fear fight. If they impose fight on us, then we will fight.
He also assured that his party will only seek for change in Cameroon through peaceful means and through the ballot box. However, towards the end of the professor's speech, he also revealed his intentions of launching his book, which had earlier been launched in Yaoundé, but this will be interrupted as Campbell has once more been placed under house arrest by state authorities. Earlier today, a number of policemen could be found dispatched outside the Valier des Princes Hotel, where the CRM president Maurice Campbell has been lodging, with the aim of escorting Campbell back to Yaoundé as he ends his stay in Douala. The situation at press time is receiving widespread comments, notably that of a fellow political figure, Kawala Edith, leader of the Cameroon People's Party, CPP, who condemns the fact that Maurice Campbell has been held in Douala against his will, insinuating a scenario of human rights violation by state authorities.
In the southwest region, the mayor of Limbe 2 Council has handed over some newly constructed modern classrooms to the basic education sector in Limbe municipality. The newly constructed classrooms were handed to some 3 primary schools in the area, as Kuma Honore tells us.
Some newly constructed modern classrooms have been officially handed over to some 3 primary schools in Limbe 2 municipality. The classrooms were officially handed over by the Lord Mayor of Limbe 2 Council, Chief Daniel Ndive, while calling on the various head teachers of the beneficiary schools to jealously maintain and protect these modern classrooms for the purposes intended. According to the mayor, the project to construct classrooms to some schools in Limbe 2 is part of revenue from decentralized funds under the Ministry of Basic Education.
And while serving the population, we listen to their worries. It has been persistent, having complaints from the population and the school authority, the lack of classrooms and adequate materials for learning. And learning needs a conducive environment, so we have to pay attention that direction. That is why we renovated some 5 classrooms at.
The project equally took into consideration the environment vis-a-vis climate change and the disabled children to have easy access to the classrooms. On behalf of the Basic Education family in Limbe 2, the Inspector of Basic Education said the gesture is timely as it will go a long way to solve infrastructural problems as well as facilitate the teaching and learning process of the pupils. She promised to put in place measures to protect these modern classrooms for posterity. The population of school children in Limbe 2 municipality has witnessed an increase as a result of influx of the number of pupils whose right to education have been violated in other areas of the crisis-stricken regions of Cameroon. The beneficiary schools includes Government Practicing School Batuke, which saw the construction and renovation of 5 classrooms, Government Nursery School Ngeme, which benefited 2 modern classrooms, 2 toilets for the kids, and staff room and the head teacher's office. Finally, Government Primary School Wovia, which saw the handing over of keys of 2 modern classrooms to the head teacher in the presence of the Wovia Village Traditional Council members.
Now, the project team of Women in Action Against Gender-Based Violence in partnership with United Nations Women have offered business inputs and other technical equipment to women in Idino. The donation was made during the launch of a 16-day activism campaign against gender-based violence in the municipality. Join Gang completes the story.
Some women in Idino municipality have benefited from business inputs, cassava mills, and fish dryers to empower them economically. The beneficiaries, who are mostly survivors and victims of gender-based violence, were carefully selected by the project team of Women in Action Against Gender-Based Violence in partnership with United Nations Women as well as other partners. Addressing beneficiaries, the livelihood officer for WAC called on the women not to be afraid to point out cases of gender-based violence within their communities and report them to appropriate authorities.
There is also a protection committee which we have set up in the 5 different localities in the subdivision. Their job is to make sure that they handle cases of gender-based violence at their level and refer accordingly. Those other cases they cannot handle. And we have created some spaces, we call it safe spaces within the community, where victims of gender-based violence can actually run to and feel safe to talk, to express their mind and to seek solutions to their problems.
The handing over of the economic packages coincided with the launching of a 16-day activism to fight against gender-based violence on women and the girl child. The project also seeks to address specific needs of the women by empowering them to be able to stand up on their own, educate their children, and be self-reliant. On behalf of her common initiative group, Echo Suzanne Ugwe promised to put into good use the cassava mill donated to her association.
I want to thank the work, the serve and the young women for these wonderful things that they are giving to us. For this wonderful machine, because we have been suffering, carrying cassava from one place to the other to go and grind. I will do my best to take good care of this machine so that it will last for long.
The third phase of the project envisages handing over of legal documents such as birth certificates and ID cards to some 17 women.
At the third stage of this program, we are going to hand over legal documents to some of those women. We identify some within the communities who do not even have birth certificates. They do not have identification papers. So the project management unit, together with their partners, UN Women and SERF, decided to accompany these women to establish those certificates.
The theme for this year's 16 days of activism to fight against gender-based violence is Paint the World Orange, as chosen by Antonio Guterres, United Nations Secretary General.
5 chiefs of newly revamped villages in Muyakot area have been coronated. The coronation, which took place recently, was done by chiefs from Boya and Tiko Chiefs Conference. Kuma Honore once more.
Some 5 chiefs of newly revamped villages under Munyakot area have been coronated by a college of chiefs from Boya and Tiko Chiefs conferences. The coronation ritual, which took place on the ancestral land of the 5 villages, saw the coronation of Chief Nje Francis Enongene as traditional ruler of Muzu village, Chief Eko Efamba Stephen as the chief of Meze village, Chief Ngando Kinsley as chief of Mehe village, Chief Maliva Andreas as traditional ruler of Elimbi village, and Chief Paul Molua Donga of Lower Ewondo village. The coronation ritual was performed by a college of chiefs from the Tiko and Boya chief conferences, as well as some chiefs from Munya chief conference. The coronation ceremony is a vital aspect for the enthronement of a chief according to the Bakure traditional rites, which officially initiates a chiefhood by his peers. Chief Ngando Kinsley, newly coronated chief of Mehe village, says the development of Mehe village is paramount as the opening up of major roads and streets in his village is ongoing. He used the opportunity to thank the administration for doing their best to see that the lost village has been revamped.
If you come for village now, you will see some, you realize some very big projects go out for village now. We try for break roads, where we don't get time for Siam now, and we work hard too for same will put structures too, like other villages around. Mid-December, I would like my villagers rally for a village who will celebrate together, because it don't be quite a long time we will never sit together. Like this coronation really bring us together, so when they come back home.
On his part, the newly coronated chief of Lower Ewunda, Chief Paul Moluwatando, said it is a dream come to him and to his subjects, as it has been a long cry for them to be resettled in their ancestral land. He re-echoed his voice with that of the government to call on our brothers who took arms against the state to abandon the bushes and come back to their village, so that together they can find solutions to a common problem affecting them.
Which way they, I'll be very happy for the things where I don't follow up for my village, for revive my village. Today, they don't come to rain. I'll be very happy. I'll be very happy. And I call all my villagers when they come together, more join to see how we will bring our village back. May it come to be.
It is worth noting that for some time now, Fako Division has witnessed the revival of some extinct villages who migrated to other areas as a result of slave trade. The newly coronated chiefs are expected to spend the next 7 days in the traditional Nambanjo tent, where they will commune with their ancestors and undergo some spiritual empowerment to be able to rule their subjects with wisdom and integrity.
Territorial Administration Minister Paul Athanganji has ended the one-year working visit in Kribi South region of Cameroon. His visit to the region was to address the issue of illegal occupation of state land in that part of the country. Ekonge Catherine completes the story.
Following reports from the population about illegal occupation of state lands in Kribi, the head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, has dispatched the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Athanganji, to see into the issue. Given that accusing fingers are pointing at local administrative authorities, the minister has frowned at the situation.
The local administrative authorities are heading the commissions to evaluate. But before you go to that level, you must have discussed with the local population. Many people have taken upon themselves to build their structures on government land. You have the presidential infrastructure here.
The minister adds that high exaggerated tax rates and compensation dues have been placed on land lost to government projects, which on the other hand have slowed down new developments.
You cannot buy a piece of land, let's say at 2 million francs, and when the government has to take that piece of land for a development project, you are asking the government to pay 20 times the amount.
Given that Kribi has a conducive environment for investment, the Minister of Territorial Administration says the government would take restraining measures to put an end to these practices which obstruct the law.
Municipal authorities in Idinao, southwest region of Cameroon have begun the first budget orientation for municipal development through project proposals. The session kick-started yesterday in the Bakingile village community hall, as Bukengo Wadi tells us.
It is the maiden edition of the budget orientation meeting of Idinao Council holding at the Bakingile village community hall. The meeting is bringing together stakeholders from the four corners of Idinao municipality to present their aspiration to the council for it to be taken into consideration during the upcoming budgetary session. Addressing the population, the first deputy mayor of Idinao Council, Mr. Alexandra Penda, called on all participants to come up with project proposals that will meet the needs of the population and more.
You can bear with me clearly that each and all our sundries have participated in their own little way or the other for the betterment of the West Coast municipality. So that is why we deem it necessary, and with provision of the law, that we should call a session like this before the budgetary session come the 10th of December 2021.
On his part, the regional coordinator for the National Community Driven Development Fund, PNDP, Mr. Alexandra Tangana, saluted the performance of Idinao Council vis-a-vis project sponsored by PNDP in Idinao municipality.
We will continue our partnership around 3 projects. The first is the construction of the motor park at Idinao. The second is the construction of lock-up stores around the motor park. That's to have a commercial, how can I call it, a commercial center around the motor park. The economy should be booming around the motor park. And the third project, which has to do with, the problem of Idinao is sanitation, hygiene and sanitation. So the third project is the construction of toilet.
It is worth noting that the Budget Orientation Forum is not a new concept in the management of council affairs, as it is inscribed in the decentralization laws. Following instruction and recommendation from the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, the holding of Budget Orientation meeting for council is obligatory for the council to mitigate action toward the development of the municipality with all stakeholders.
Now, the second edition of the Pan-African Cultural Festival Panafrican has been launched in Boya. The population of the Southwest region have been encouraged to actively participate in the 3-day event that is meant to identify, valorize and sell African culture to the world. Clarice Ekowe with details.
After the first edition organized last year in Douala, this is the official launching of the second edition of the Pan-African Cultural Festival, also known by its acronym as PANAFES. Holding in Boya, this press conference that brought together media professionals from the print and audiovisual media was a platform for the organizers to enlighten the public on the benefits of preserving the African culture. Going by the president of PANAFES, Mark Anthony, African culture has been relegated to the background. Hence, the Pan-African Cultural Festival 2021 comes to reawaken and expose such hidden cultures to the world, as participants are expected to come both from Cameroon and other African countries.
When you talk about the African cultures of persons, they say, no, we don't like the African culture. They're limited to the traditions that take place in villages and all that. No, that's just a part of it. So we want to show the best part of our culture.
Organized by United Africa for Economic Development, also known as UNAFI, the 3-day event comes with a lot of innovations as opposed to last year.
We are going to be having business master classes in a fashion runway, which would be also to display the kind of outfits that Africans should encourage. Saturday, we are now going to be having the award ceremony.
It was further revealed by the president, Mark Anthony, that PANAFES intends to go international after the next 5 editions that will be organized in Cameroon.
We want to go from nation to nation. It means we are not just waiting in Cameroon to receive people from different countries in Cameroon, but we are going to their own countries.
Meanwhile, 90 awards are expected to be given to some Africans at the close of the cultural event on Saturday as a recognition to their works in promoting, valorizing and selling the African culture to the world.
We have categories across the board. That's why you had the 90 awards. To encourage the people who are working in the law.
The press conference was also attended by some partners who pledged their support to see that the cultural activity should be a success.
And Manawuda Malachi, Cameroon's health minister, has reiterated the need for all to get vaccinated against COVID-19 as the Ministry of Health is yet to meet its target. He was speaking at the National Assembly yesterday as Alain tells us.
According to statistics from health authorities in Cameroon on November 18, 2021, fewer than 300 of the targeted 300,000 state workers agreed to be vaccinated against COVID 2 weeks into a national campaign against the deadliest virus. Reports say some civil servants hold a mistaken faith that the virus is no longer a threat in the country. However, health officials stipulated categorically that vaccination in Cameroon must be stepped up amid concerns about the new variant. Minister Manawuda Malachi reiterated the need for all citizens to get vaccinated. He was speaking at the National Assembly Tuesday, December 2nd, 2021.
Même si l'efficacité du vaccin a peut-être été atteinte au début, elle n'est pas nulle. Et donc ce vaccin reste toujours efficace pour la prise en charge de ces variants, que ce soit Delta, que ce soit Omicron aujourd'hui que nous avons découvert. Et donc nous voulons continuer à demander à la population d'aller se faire vacciner, de se protéger contre le Covid-19 dans ce sens-là, parce que celui qui est vacciné a un avantage certain sur celui qui ne l'est pas.
It is worth recalling that the Cameroon government officially launched a one-month vaccination campaign targeting its 600,000 active and retired government workers against COVID-19 across the national territory. The Public Health Ministry says it has vaccinated just 300 of the 300,000 expected active and former state workers as of November 18, 2021. Meanwhile, the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reforms, Joseph Lee, said he is pleading with workers to take the jabs. He emphasized that vaccination is the only way to protect ourselves from the devastating effects of the terrible pandemic. The government of Cameroon had announced that the COVID-19 Delta variant was present in the country and infection rates were increasing. The Health Ministry is encouraging Cameroonians to get vaccinated and continue respecting all barrier measures while calling on all not to be misled by rumors and misinformation spread mainly on social media networks.
Eileen Sama's report concludes today's edition of Prime News on My Media Prime Television. My name is Fon Quinter. Coming up next is Prime Hour with Leonard and his team. Have a great evening. Good night.